Daisy Benson came home a little earlier than usual that evening. She had stopped at the market to buy fresh tomatoes, peppers, and goat meat, Kelvin's favorite. He had once said she made the best pepper soup in the world. That memory made her smile as she unlocked the front door. Their house was quiet. Too quiet. "Kelvin?" she called, pushing the door open with her elbow, arms full of plastic bags. No reply. Maybe he was in the study or resting. She kicked off her shoes and stepped into the living room. Then she stopped. Everything in her body froze. Kelvin was there, kissing another woman. At first, her brain refused to accept what her eyes were seeing. It didn't make sense. Maybe she was tired. Maybe her eyes were playing tricks. But no. It was real. It was Amanda, the designer, the one who always wore too much perfume and once winked at Kelvin in front of her during a company dinner. Daisy had ignored it then. She trusted her husband. She was such a fool. Amanda turned and noticed her first. Her lipstick was smudged. "Oh," Amanda said casually, flipping her hair. "So, the madam is home." Daisy's hands dropped the groceries. Tomatoes rolled across the floor like marbles. Her heart was thudding in her ears. "What is this?" she whispered. Amanda stood up slowly. Her short dress clung to her body. She didn't even bother to cover herself or look ashamed. "I'm just giving your husband what you obviously can't," Amanda said. "Or should I say, what your empty womb can't?" Daisy's eyes widened. The words hit her like a slap. "What did you just say to me?" she asked, stepping forward. Amanda smiled. "You heard me. You've been married for 3 years and no child. A man needs children. It's not his fault you're barren." Daisy's hand moved before she could stop herself. The slap landed hard on Amanda's cheek. The room went silent for a split second. Then suddenly, a loud smack. Daisy staggered back. Kelvin had slapped her. "Are you crazy, Daisy?" he shouted, his face twisted with rage. "What is wrong with you?" Daisy held her cheek, her eyes filled with tears, not just from the pain, but from the shock. The betrayal. "You hit me?" she said quietly. "For her?" Kelvin pointed at her, his voice sharp. "You think I'll keep wasting my time with a woman who can't give me a child? Amanda is everything you're not. She's young, she's healthy. She makes me feel alive." Daisy felt like she couldn't breathe. Her legs were weak. How did they get here? She remembered the early days of their marriage, how he used to call her my peace, how he would sit beside her on the couch after work, resting his head on her shoulder, how he promised they'd face anything together, even childlessness. Was all of that a lie? "You're not even a real woman," Kelvin snapped. "No child, no spark, nothing. I should have divorced you long ago." Amanda folded her arms and leaned against the wall, smiling like she'd already won. Daisy looked at her husband, no, this man, and saw a stranger. She didn't say another word. She just turned around, walked up the stairs slowly, one hand on the wall to steady herself. Each step felt heavier than the last. Behind her, she could still hear Amanda laughing. Daisy's thoughts as she climbs the stairs. 3 years. I gave him everything. I cooked, I prayed, I waited. He promised me we'd be okay. I thought love was enough. I thought if I was good, loyal, patient, he'd never leave me. But now, it's like none of it ever mattered. Daisy stood in front of the bathroom mirror, still trembling. Her cheek was red and slightly swollen. She touched it gently, then quickly pulled her hand away. The sting from Kelvin's slap was nothing compared to the pain in her heart. She turned on the tap, splashed cold water on her face, and tried to breathe. "Just calm down," she whispered to herself. Maybe he didn't mean it. Maybe he's just angry. But the image of him defending Amanda, holding her like she was the wife, flashed in her mind again. Tears poured down her face. She changed into a fresh dress, tied her hair into a scarf, and sat on the edge of the bed. Her mind was racing. She didn't even know what to say or do next. Then she heard his voice. "Daisy," Kelvin called from downstairs. She wiped her face quickly, hoping her eyes weren't too red. "Daisy, come down here. My parents are here." Her heart sank. His parents. Now? She stood up slowly, her body heavy with stress, and made her way downstairs. As she stepped into the living room, she noticed Amanda had left already, and Kelvin's parents were already seated, his father looking stern, his mother sitting upright with a scowl on her face. Amanda was gone. "Good evening, Ma." "Good evening, sir," Daisy said quietly, her voice still shaky. Kelvin's mother didn't reply. She just looked her up and down, disgusted. "My son said you have been nothing but trouble, even fighting him. Don't you want your husband to have peace in his own house?" she said coldly. "Ma?" Daisy blinked. Kelvin's mother crossed her arms. "We came here to visit our son, only to hear that you're fighting and shouting like a market woman." Daisy looked at Kelvin, confused. He didn't meet her eyes. "Ma," Daisy said gently, "I didn't start the fight. I came home and saw Kelvin kissing another woman in our living room. She insulted me. I reacted, and he slapped me." Kelvin's father leaned forward. "Which woman?" "Her name is Amanda. He claims she's from his office." "N. Kelvin's mother clapped her hands once. "So you've started chasing women out of the house now, when you can't even give my son a child?"
"You should be thanking God he hasn't left you yet." Daisy's lips parted. She was shocked. "Ma, is that what you're saying to me? After everything I've done for this family?" Kelvin's mother stood up sharply. "Don't raise your voice at me. For 3 years you've been eating my son's food, wearing his name, living under his roof, yet no child, not even a sign. And now you want to start dragging him because he found someone who can help him have a real family." Daisy felt like the ground was moving beneath her feet. "Daddy?" She turned to Kelvin's father, hoping for some support. But he just shook his head. "You've overstayed your welcome, Daisy. You're lucky we even accepted you. My son could have married someone better, someone with a womb that works." Tears filled her eyes again. "So that's it? After everything, I'm just a disgrace to you?" Kelvin's mother scoffed. "At least you know your place." She looked at her son. "Kelvin, tell her. Tell her what we agreed." Kelvin finally looked up, his eyes cold. "I think it's time for you to leave, Daisy." Silence. "What?" He stepped closer. "Pack your things. You can stay with your people in Surulere or wherever. This is not working, and I don't want more drama." Daisy stared at him. She couldn't speak. Her throat felt dry. Her chest was rising and falling with short, fast breaths. "You're throwing me out?" Kelvin shrugged. "You said you saw enough. So leave." Daisy looked around the room, at the in-laws who never really accepted her, at the man she had loved, at the house that had become a stranger's home. She straightened her shirt, wiped her face with the back of her hand, and walked toward the stairs. As she climbed up to pack, her heart whispered just one thing: "This is not your home anymore." She zipped up her last bag with trembling hands. The room that once smelled like peace now felt empty, cold, heavy, and strange. She looked around one last time. The bed they shared, the pictures on the wall, the wedding frame beside the mirror. For a moment she wanted to take it with her, but she stopped. What was the point? The woman in that photo was gone. Taking a deep breath, she picked up her bags and slowly walked down the stairs. Kelvin and his parents were still in the living room, whispering among themselves. No one looked at her. "I'm leaving," Daisy said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. Kelvin's mother gave a short, sharp hiss. "Good. The house will finally have peace." Daisy nodded slowly and turned toward the door. But just as she reached for the handle, the front door opened, and Amanda walked in. Daisy froze. Amanda's lipstick was fresh again, her smile wider than ever. "Oh, you're still here?" Amanda said sweetly. "I thought you would have gone by now." Daisy ignored her and turned away. But before she could take another step, Amanda suddenly gasped loudly, "My bracelet! My jade bracelet, it's gone!" Kelvin frowned. "What bracelet?" Amanda began searching her purse and pockets dramatically. "The green jade one, the one Kelvin gave me. I had it right here a few hours ago when we were talking before your parents came." Daisy turned slowly, confused. "What are you saying?" Amanda's eyes widened. "Wait, you were upstairs packing, right?" Daisy blinked. "Yes, but—" "So you were alone with everyone's things," Amanda said quickly, pretending to think.
Maybe you picked it by mistake. Kelvin's mother's eyes narrowed. Picked it? Or stole it? Daisy's mouth fell open. Stole? Ma, how can you say that? Why would I steal from anyone? Amanda folded her arms. Then you won't mind if we check your bags, right? Daisy stared at her. You're not serious. Kelvin's mother stood up sharply. No one leaves this house until we find that bracelet. Ma, please. Open your bag, Daisy. Daisy hesitated. She didn't want to be humiliated like that, but everyone's eyes were already on her. Her hands shook as she unzipped her bag. Kelvin's mother pushed past her, rummaging roughly through her clothes. Then suddenly Amanda shouted, "There! That's it, my bracelet!" Everyone turned, and there it was, a shiny green jade bracelet lying neatly between Daisy's folded blouses. Daisy gasped, "No, that's not mine. I've never even seen that thing before." Amanda clutched her chest. "You mean to tell me it just walked into your bag by itself?" Kelvin's mother pointed a finger at Daisy. "Thief! You've brought shame to my family. First you can't give my son a child, now you want to rob him too." "Ma, please, I didn't—" "Shut up," she shouted. "You are a disgrace. Kelvin, she must pay for that bracelet. That thing costs over 1 million naira. Kelvin nodded coldly. "You'll pay for it, Daisy. Or we'll go to the police." Daisy's legs felt weak. "Kelvin, you know me. I don't know you anymore." He cut in sharply. "I must have been blind to ever marry someone like you." Tears spilled from Daisy's eyes. "You really believe this?" Kelvin turned away. "Sign the paper." "What paper?" He brought out a document and tossed it on the table. "Divorce papers. It's over, Daisy. You're free, but you'll pay 5 million for the damages and embarrassment you've caused this family." Daisy shook her head in disbelief. 5 million? Where will I get that kind of money? You know I have nothing. Kelvin's mother scoffed. "Then you better start working for it. A thief like you should suffer small." For a moment, Daisy couldn't speak. She just stood there, trembling, her tears falling quietly. Then, with a shaky hand, she picked up the pen. She signed the paper. Her name looked strange on the page, like it belonged to someone else. When she was done, she set the pen down carefully, wiped her face, and lifted her bag again. No one stopped her this time. She walked out of the house slowly, step by step, her vision blurry with tears. Outside, the sky was turning gray. It looked like rain. She stood at the gate for a moment, took a deep breath, and whispered under her breath, "God, if you're watching, please don't forget me." Then she walked away. The streets of Lekki were quiet as Daisy walked away from the only life she had ever built. The sky had darkened, thunder rumbled far in the distance. She didn't know where she was going. She had no plan, no money, no strength. Only one place came to mind. Home, or at least what used to feel like home. Her old foster house in Surulere, where she grew with her adopted mother and brother. By the time she arrived, the sky had already broken open. Rain poured heavily, soaking her dress and her slippers. She knocked on the rusty iron gate, her hands cold and shaking. A few seconds later, the gate creaked open. Her foster mother, Clara, squinted into the rain. Her face changed when she saw Daisy. Not with love, not with concern, just confusion. Ah, Daisy. What are you doing here in this rain? Where's your car?" Daisy forced a small smile, but it cracked halfway. "Mummy, I came back." Clara opened the gate wider and moved aside without hugging her. As Daisy stepped inside, dripping wet, she realized this wasn't really home anymore, just somewhere to hide. Inside the small, cramped sitting room, her younger foster brother Charles was stretched out on the sofa watching TV. He barely looked up. "I told you she'd come back crying one day," he said, chuckling. Clara looked Daisy up and down. "So, what happened? Did your husband throw you out?" Daisy swallowed hard. Her voice cracked. He cheated. With another woman. Then he hit me. His family said I was barren. They called me a thief. They made me sign divorce papers and forced me to pay 5 million for something I didn't even do." She broke down in tears right there, the pain finally spilling out. But her mother just shook her head slowly. So that's it? You finally messed everything up?" Mummy. Daisy looked up, confused. You had one job, Daisy, Clara snapped. One job! To keep that man happy. Instead of doing that, you let another woman collect him. Do you know how many girls in this would kill to be in your shoes? I was faithful to him, Daisy cried. He was the one who betrayed me. Charles laughed bitterly. So you're back now, empty-handed. No money, no house, nothing. You better go and beg him to forgive you. I will not go back to that house, Daisy said firmly. Then what will you do? Clara hissed. Stay here and eat my food again? You think this house feeds itself? Daisy stared at her. So this is how you welcome me? After everything? Clara folded her arms. Don't be dramatic. If you're not ready to beg Kelvin, then marry someone else. That man in the village, David. His mother said he has 500,000 saved. You can marry him. He's simple. Not too bright, but he'll take care of you. Daisy stared in disbelief. David? He's mentally challenged. He can't even walk properly. So? Clara said sharply. That one won't cheat on you. And we need the bride price. Charles wants to start building his own house. Are you hearing yourself? Daisy asked, her voice rising. You want to sell me off like a goat? Because your son wants to build a house? Charles stood up. Don't talk like that in my mother's house. Oh, after everything she did for you. You're not even her real daughter. Daisy's eyes filled with fresh tears. I know I'm not her daughter. You don't have to remind me. She picked up her wet bag. You know what? You're right. I don't belong here. I don't belong anywhere. Clara rolled her eyes. Go ahead and leave. Just don't come crawling back when the world finishes you. Daisy looked at both of them, her so-called family, and shook her head slowly. You're strangers to me now. She turned and walked out into the rain again, and this time she truly had nowhere to go. Minutes passed, and the rain didn't stop. Daisy walked down the street with her small bag pressed tightly against her chest. Her hair was soaked, her feet ached, her heart was numb. She didn't even know where she was going. She passed people under umbrellas, drivers honking, buses speeding by with splashes of muddy water. But she was invisible. When she couldn't walk anymore, she found an old bus stop with a broken shelter. She sat on the bench and buried her face in her hands. And there, in the middle of Lagos, under heavy rain, Daisy wept, quiet, painful sobs that came from the deepest part of her. Not for Kelvin, not for the bracelet or the house, but for herself. For the little girl inside her who had always just wanted to belong, to be loved, to matter. People walked past her, some glancing her way, but no one stopped. The cold began to creep into her bones. A kind older woman selling roasted corn nearby came closer. Fine girl, you go sleep here tonight? Daisy looked up, her eyes red. I have nowhere else to go. The woman nodded slowly, then pointed down the road. There's a small private hospital around that corner. They collect blood donation. They fit give you small money. Just say you want donate. It go help small. Daisy nodded weakly. It was the only idea she had. The small hospital was quiet. The lights buzzed softly. A nurse looked up from her desk as Daisy entered. I heard you take blood donations, Daisy asked. The nurse smiled kindly. Yes. Come, fill this form. We'll do a quick test first. Daisy sat quietly, filled in her details, and followed the nurse to the back. The blood was drawn quickly. She felt lightheaded but didn't complain. You did well, the nurse said gently. She placed some cash in Daisy's palm, just enough for food and water. God bless you. Daisy gave a weak smile. Thank you. She left the hospital not knowing that her life had just changed forever. Far away, in a quiet estate surrounded by tall walls and security guards, a phone rang. Inside the mansion of Mr. and Mrs. Williams, the wealthiest couple in Nigeria, a butler answered the call. Hello? The man said. Yes, this is Mr. Adderwale, Mr. Williams's assistant. The voice on the other end was from the hospital. We have news. One of the random donors today. Her DNA matches the profile on your file, almost perfectly. The butler froze. What's her name? Daisy Benson, Mid-20s. Said she's from Surulere. No parents listed. She was adopted about 20 years ago, and, sir, the nurse paused. She has a red mole on her right palm. A perfect circle. The phone almost slipped from his hand. That mole. It had been the only clue from the day their daughter was taken. He took a deep breath. She's the one. Meanwhile, in the U.S., Mr. Williams sat beside his wife's hospital bed in a quiet treatment center. Her eyes were closed, her body thin and fragile. She had suffered severe depression ever since their daughter was kidnapped 20 years ago. Mr. Williams's phone buzzed. He answered tiredly. Yes? Sir, the butler's voice shook. We found her. Silence. Are you sure? Mr. Williams whispered. She has the red mole, sir. The blood center ran her DNA against the file. It's a match. He stood up slowly, his hands trembling. Where is she? She left the hospital not long ago, sir. But we're tracking her. I'll find her and bring her safely. Good, Mr. Williams said, his voice breaking. Tell her father has been looking for her every day for 20 years. Back in Lagos, Daisy used the small money she got to buy bread and a bottle of water. She sat near a roadside stall, nibbling quietly, still wet, still cold, still lost. She didn't know that at that very moment, someone had just placed her picture on a file marked "Found." Her life was about to change forever. But for now, she was just a girl sitting in the rain, whispering a prayer she wasn't sure God would hear. Please, I just want to matter to someone. The next morning, Daisy woke up to the sound of a car horn. She had spent the night on a wooden bench near a roadside stall, using her scarf as a pillow. Her body ached. Her throat was dry. The city was already alive, hawkers shouting, buses moving, life going on without her. She sat up slowly, trying to stretch her sore legs, when a sleek black SUV pulled up in front of her. A well-dressed man in a suit stepped out. Miss Daisy? He asked. She blinked. Yes? He gave a respectful bow. I work for Mr. and Mrs. Williams. I've come to take you home. Daisy stared at him like he was speaking French. What? You donated blood yesterday. The hospital contacted us. You're the daughter they've been searching for. She stood up slowly. I think you have the wrong person. The man smiled kindly. You have a red mole on your right palm, don't you? Daisy slowly turned her hand over. The little circle was there, one she had never paid attention to. The man nodded. Please come with me. Everything will be explained. Still in shock, Daisy entered the car. She didn't speak the whole ride. Her hands stayed in her lap. Her eyes stared straight ahead. They drove into Ikoyi, past gates guarded by men with guns, through a winding driveway lined with flowers and fountains, until they arrived at a massive white mansion with golden gates and palm trees that looked too perfect to be real. The driver opened the door for her. Welcome home, Miss Williams. Daisy stepped out slowly, staring at the house. The front steps alone were made of polished stone. The doors were tall and carved. Inside, marble floors stretched in every direction. Chandeliers hung from high ceilings. Staff dressed in black and white uniforms greeted her with soft bows. Good morning, Miss Williams. Welcome, Miss Williams. Daisy turned in every direction, overwhelmed. Just yesterday she had begged for food. Today, this? The butler led her into a quiet sitting room. A large screen was set up with a video call waiting. On it appeared the kind, tired face of a man, Mr. Williams. Hello, Daisy, he said gently, his eyes full of emotion. Daisy stood frozen. The man continued. I'm your father. I know this is hard to believe, but you were kidnapped when you were just 4 years old. We've been looking for you ever since. He reached for his wife, who sat beside him on a hospital bed. Her eyes were misty but alive. This is your mother, he said softly. She hasn't smiled in years, until today. Daisy's lips parted, but no words came out. Mr. Williams continued, the hospital confirmed everything. Your DNA, the red mole on your hand, it all matches. You're our daughter, Daisy. Our only child. Tears fell from Daisy's eyes. She sank slowly into the chair. Just a few hours ago, she was a divorced woman with no money, no family, and nowhere to sleep. And now, they were calling her a billionaire's missing daughter? I don't understand, she whispered. I don't know how to accept this. You don't have to understand it all right now, Mr. Williams said gently. You're safe now. You're home. That's all that matters. They offered to send her new clothes, her own driver, even a full staff. But Daisy shook her head. I want to earn it. I want to work for what's mine. Please, let me start small. Mr. Williams smiled. You're still our daughter no matter what. But if that's what you want, then we'll support you. And that was how Daisy, the girl who had once slept at a bus stop with nowhere to go, stepped into her new life as Daisy Williams, the long-lost daughter of Nigeria's wealthiest family. She started the next morning as an intern at Williams Group Fashion, quiet, focused, and determined to prove she was more than just a surname. She didn't wear flashy clothes. She didn't arrive with a bodyguard. She worked late, kept her head down, and listened more than she spoke. Nobody there knew she was the CEO's daughter. And that was exactly how she wanted it for now. Because Daisy wasn't just reclaiming her name. She was rebuilding her life, on her own terms. She stepped out of the staff elevator on the 4th floor of Williams Group Fashion, clutching her notebook tightly against her chest. She wore a simple white blouse and black trousers, the kind worn by entry-level interns. Her ID tag read, Daisy W., nothing more. She kept her head down, moving past the busy hallway filled with models, assistants, and designers rushing about. The scent of perfume and coffee floated in the air. The company was alive with energy. It felt like a dream. Only yesterday she had slept on a wooden bench with rain in her hair. Now she walked through one of the most powerful fashion companies in West Africa. She reached her desk in the design intern corner and quietly took a seat. A few heads turned to glance at her, some curious, some indifferent. Then she heard it. A loud, confident voice, echoing from the hallway behind her. High heels clicked loudly against the tiled floor. Daisy turned slightly, just enough to see who it was. Amanda. She was wearing a fitted pink designer dress, high heels, and large sunglasses even though they were indoors. Her lipstick was red, her attitude even redder. When she saw Daisy sitting quietly at her intern desk, Amanda burst into laughter. Ah, look who it is, she said, loud enough for the whole room to hear. The shameless, barren ex-wife. What are you doing here, Daisy? Sweeping floors, or looking for who to cry to this time? A few junior staff chuckled nervously. One or two whispered behind their hands. Daisy said nothing. She simply looked at Amanda, then turned back to her desk. Amanda smirked. Still mute, I see. You better speak up, because this is Williams Group, not the charity center you're used to. Before Daisy could respond, the office door to the conference room opened. A middle-aged manager stepped out with several staff following him. Amanda quickly stepped forward and smiled brightly. Good morning, sir. I'm Amanda, the new designer. Mr. Lonra from HR said I should join the elite team today. The manager nodded, clearly impressed by her confidence. Yes, we've been expecting you. Another assistant whispered to the person beside her. That must be her, the lost daughter. She looks like money. Another voice. She carries herself like royalty. Look at her shoes. The rumors had already spread. Everyone knew the missing daughter of the Williams family had returned, and she was now part of the company. Amanda didn't correct them. Instead, she smiled wider, flipping her hair. My parents said I should start small, she said, voice sweet. But you know how these things go. Blood always shows. A few people clapped politely. Some even offered to get her coffee or carry her sketch folder. Nobody noticed Daisy watching quietly from the corner. Amanda walked past again, this time leaning toward her with a cold smirk. So you're here too, Daisy? As what, the janitor intern? A few more people laughed. Daisy didn't respond. She didn't need to. Because while Amanda was loud and shiny on the outside, Daisy was something else entirely. Solid, silent, and full of truth. And she knew something Amanda didn't.
She didn't need to lie to belong. She already did. Every day at Williams Group Fashion was a test of patience. Amanda never missed an opportunity to mock her. And the other interns? They laughed along, not because they liked Amanda, but because they thought she was the CEO's daughter. Daisy never corrected them. She didn't see the point. Amanda's words were constant. Little jabs about her being barren, jobless, or divorced and dumped. Sometimes she made snide comments in front of the supervisors, just to humiliate her. But Daisy never snapped. One afternoon, while Amanda was bragging about a designer handbag someone gifted her, she leaned across the table and whispered loud enough for the room to hear. "By the way, Daisy, I'm enjoying the pillows in your old bedroom. Hope you don't mind." Daisy looked up slowly, calm and steady. "You can have him," she said quietly. "I've moved on." Amanda blinked, caught off guard by the peace in Daisy's tone. The room went quiet for a moment, but Daisy didn't wait for a reaction. She returned to her sketches. Late into the evenings, after everyone had gone home, Daisy remained at her desk. She poured her heart into her work, sketching, redrawing, studying fabric samples, learning cuts and techniques. Her notebook was always full, her pencils worn out. She even cleaned the workspace herself. Her efforts did not go unnoticed by the wrong person first. One morning, Daisy arrived early to find her sketch folder missing. She searched every drawer, shelf, and corner of her desk. Then, during the morning team presentation, Amanda walked in confidently, carrying a folder, and presented Daisy's designs as her own. The supervisors clapped, impressed. "This is brilliant work, Amanda," one said. "Classic lines with a fresh edge," another added. Daisy stood up quietly. "Excuse me, those are my sketches." Amanda turned with a smirk. "Oh, really? Are you saying I stole them? Because that's a bold accusation, especially when everyone knows who I am." The room went still. One of the scene managers looked uncomfortable. "Daisy, let's not create drama. If Amanda says these are hers, but I drew them," Daisy said calmly. "Check the date on the originals. Check my file. I've been working on that pattern for 2 weeks." The manager's smile tightened. "There is no way Amanda stole your work, so I suggest we move forward." Amanda grinned and walked back to her seat, flicking her hair. Daisy sat down slowly, heart sinking. But she didn't argue further. She already knew the truth. The rest of the office didn't care about facts. They only cared about favor. And they still believed Amanda was the long-lost daughter of the CEO. But not everyone was fooled. That same afternoon, the building grew louder with whispers and fluttering heartbeats. Daniel Obasi had entered the floor. He was tall, sharp-suited, and effortlessly confident. The heir to Obasi Holdings, one of the top partners of the Williams Group. Women turned pink when he walked by. Interns tried to fix their hair. Designers tripped over their compliments. But Daniel barely noticed. Until he passed the corner desk where Daisy was quietly erasing part of a sketch, her brows furrowed in focus. She didn't look up. She didn't care who walked by. And somehow, that's what made him pause. He stood a few steps away, watching her hands move. Her sketch was precise, careful, full of thought, the kind of detail that couldn't be faked. He turned to one of the supervisors. "Who did that design?" "Oh, Amanda," the man said quickly, glancing around. "She's brilliant." Daniel looked again at the drawing, then at Amanda, who had just stepped out of her office with a loud laugh and bright pink lipstick, and then at Daisy, still working silently, unaware that she was being watched. Something didn't add up. Amanda spotted Daniel almost immediately. Her eyes lit up. Within seconds, she walked over and placed her hand lightly on his arm. "Daniel Obasi, right?" she said sweetly. "I've seen you in the magazines." He gave a polite nod. "I'm Amanda, new designer here. We should have coffee sometime. I think we'd make a great team," she said, smiling with confidence. Daniel smiled faintly. "I don't think so." Then his eyes drifted back to Daisy for one more second. He didn't say it aloud, but something about her was different. It wasn't just her sketch, it was the quiet strength in her silence.
and Daniel Obasi had always been drawn to quiet power. The day after Daniel Obasi visited the office, everything felt tense. Amanda walked in like a queen, smiling proudly as usual, but the gossip was already moving through the company like smoke.
Daniel Obasi asked for someone's sketches, someone whispered, but not Amanda's. At lunch, Amanda laughed louder than usual, tossing her braids over her shoulder. He just wanted to compare styles, she told the group. Of course, he picked mine. Who else? What Amanda didn't know was this. Daniel had already asked one of the design leads to send him Daisy's full portfolio. Not Amanda's, not anyone else's. And when he saw them that night, neatly labeled, pencil-sketched, raw, full of honest work, he knew immediately. These were the same designs Amanda had claimed during the presentation. The next morning, Daniel showed up again, but this time, he wasn't just visiting. He was leading a high-profile client presentation, one of the biggest fashion houses in Italy, who had flown into Lagos to discuss a possible collaboration with Williams Group and Obasi Holdings. Everyone in the design floor buzzed with excitement. Amanda, of course, was front and center, wearing her flashiest dress and brightest smile. Daisy, as usual, was quietly working in the background, unnoticed. When the presentation began, Amanda stepped forward confidently. "These are the designs we believe will fit your next collection," she said, pointing at the slides, inspired by modern African patterns, clean silhouettes, and soft edges. The clients nodded. The room was silent. Then Daniel leaned forward and asked calmly, "And who drew these sketches?" Amanda smiled. "I did." Daniel didn't blink. "You're sure?" "Yes, of course." She laughed lightly. "I stayed up all night finalizing them." Daniel looked at her for a moment, then turned to the screen. "Because I spent the last night reviewing the original sketches from our intern, Daisy Williams." The room froze. Daniel continued, "These are hers. I verified them. They're signed, dated, and submitted weeks ago. And they weren't in your file, Amanda." Amanda's face fell. The managers shifted uncomfortably. One even rubbed his forehead. "I don't tolerate theft," Daniel said, his tone calm but clear. "And I definitely don't tolerate lies, especially in front of international clients." The Italian guests looked surprised, but nodded with approval. The head manager stood quickly. "Our apologies, Mr. Obasi, and to you, Daisy. This shouldn't have happened." All eyes turned to Daisy at the back of the room. She looked shocked, frozen, unsure if it was really happening. Daniel turned back to the clients. "We'd like to continue the project with Daisy Williams as part of the lead team." There were no arguments. The meeting ended with applause for Daisy. Amanda slipped out silently, her jaw tight, her face pale with anger. Later that afternoon, Daisy waited outside the building. She wasn't sure why, maybe just to breathe or to take it all in. Then she saw Daniel coming down the stairs toward his car. She stepped forward. "Excuse me, sir. Mr. Obasi." He paused. "Daisy, right?" She nodded quickly. I wanted to say thank you for standing up for me. You didn't have to, but you did." Daniel gave a soft smile. "Talent should be seen, not stolen." She smiled shyly. "Still, I won't forget it." He opened the door to his car, then turned back. "You have something, Daisy. Don't let this place crush it." She nodded. "I won't." They shared a warm, quiet smile. No flirting, no tension, just respect. Maybe something deeper, but unspoken. Across the parking lot, Amanda stood hidden behind a tinted office window, watching. Her hands clenched. Her teeth pressed together. "Stupid girl," she hissed. "You really think you've won?" She grabbed her phone and dialed a number. "Kelvin." "Kelvin," she said sweetly when he answered. He laughed. "Amanda, you again? Hope say you're not calling me for money." She chuckled lightly. "Not at all. I just thought you'd want to know. Your sweet ex-wife? Daisy? She's already moved on. She's here seducing a billionaire." Kelvin laughed so hard he almost choked. "Daisy?
That one? Which billionaire will look at a barren, used-up woman like her? Amanda's eyes darkened. She's playing a long game. I think she is trying to get noticed. Kelvin scoffed. Let her try. She'll still end up where she belongs, on the street. Amanda hung up and smiled coldly to herself. If she thinks she's going to shine, I'll make sure she drowns in her own light. And just like that, a week passed, but the buzz from the presentation hadn't died down. Even the managers who once ignored Daisy now nodded respectfully whenever they passed her desk. Then came the announcement. Effective immediately, Daisy Williams is promoted to design lead for the Lagos-inspired collection. The office clapped politely. A few people smiled genuinely. Some faked it. Amanda didn't clap at all. Daisy said thank you quietly and returned to her work. She didn't ask for attention. She didn't post anything online. She simply worked harder, coming early, staying late, fixing other interns' errors, and guiding the new team. Daniel began spending more time with her. Sometimes it was meetings. Other times he dropped by casually, offering soft feedback, watching her sketch in silence. One afternoon, while reviewing color samples, he leaned slightly closer and said, "You always think 5 steps ahead." Daisy smiled. "I just want everything to be perfect." And it shows. She didn't say anything, but inside something fluttered, a quiet warmth she hadn't felt in years. Not love. Not yet. But peace. Of course, peace never lasted long. The next morning, Daisy walked into the office and overheard Amanda's voice near the break room. "She's not even that good. Everyone knows she's using Daniel to climb," Amanda said loudly. "One minute she's a homeless intern, next minute she's lead designer. Come on, we all know what she's doing." Someone laughed nervously. Daisy paused at the doorway. Her heart ached. She stepped inside calmly, ignoring the eyes. Amanda turned around, eyes wide, clearly not expecting to be caught. Daisy walked up to her slowly. "You really have a lot to say about me, Amanda." Amanda smiled tightly. "If the shoe fits." Daisy looked her straight in the eye. "Let me remind you of something. You were the one sleeping with another woman's husband. You were the one who laughed in my face and helped throw me out of my marriage." Amanda's smile faded. "And even then," Daisy continued, her voice steady, "I didn't fight you. I walked away. I let it go." The room was dead silent. "I'm not trying to take anything from you. I'm not after Kelvin. I'm just trying to build a life for myself, something real. And you're trying to ruin me for what? Because I didn't fall apart like you expected?" Amanda's jaw clenched. "I don't want anything from you," Daisy finished. "I just want peace, so please leave me alone." She turned and walked away, her steps calm and light. Amanda stood there, her fists clenched at her sides, nails digging into her palm, her face red, her breath shallow. She had nothing to say. But her hatred was boiling deeper now. Later that day, as Daisy was wrapping up her designs, her phone buzzed, an unknown number. "Hello?" "Ah, Daisy," said the familiar voice of her foster mother, Clara. "So it's true. You're now working in one big company, even leading people now." Daisy's heart sank. "Who gave you this number?" "Don't worry about that," Clara snapped. "Just remember where you came from. We raised you, fed you, now it's time to show appreciation." Daisy sighed. "What do you want?" "We need money. Charles wants to start his building project. Just 2 million. Nothing too big. I don't have that kind of money." Clara's voice hardened. "So after everything, you now feel too big to help us?" "I'm not too big. I'm just tired of being used." "We'll talk again," Clara said coldly, then hung up. Daisy stared at the phone, her chest tight. She thought she had escaped, but her past was still trying to pull her back. But this time, she wasn't the same girl who cried on the street. She was Daisy Williams now, and she wasn't going down without a fight. After Daisy confronted Amanda at the office, something shifted. Amanda had smiled and laughed it off in front of others, but inside she was boiling. Her chest burned with rage. How dare Daisy speak to her like that? How dare she walk around like she had peace? Amanda needed to remind her who was in charge, and this time, it wouldn't be at a desk or in a meeting. After all, everyone still believes she was the Williams heiress. It is time she uses that to her advantage. That evening, Amanda sent out a bright, bubbly message to the office group chat. "Hey loves, let's unwind this weekend at Lecky Thermal Haven, my family's resort. On me, let's relax in style. Only the classy allowed." Within seconds, replies poured in. "Yes, queen." "Heiress flex, let's go." Daisy saw the message too. She didn't reply. She knew it was bait. But the invitation had reached everyone, and even though Daisy planned to skip it, her supervisor quietly told her, "You should come. It's good for team bonding." So she did. That Saturday, a small group of staff arrived at Lecky Thermal Haven, a luxury resort owned by the Williams Group, with marble floors, private pools, ocean views, and 5-star service. Amanda arrived last, wearing oversized sunglasses and snapping her fingers at staff like a movie star. "This way," she told everyone loudly. "The top suite is reserved. My father insists I take the ocean view when I come." The staff behind the front desk bowed politely. Just then, the resort's head butler appeared from the hallway. He stopped in his tracks. His eyes widened when he saw Daisy. He walked forward quickly and gave a respectful bow. "Welcome, Miss Williams. We are glad you decided to visit us." Amanda froze mid-sentence. The receptionist looked at Daisy. The room fell quiet. All eyes slowly turned to Daisy. Amanda's smile twitched. "Sorry. Who?" The butler turned to her. "Miss Williams, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Williams, our resort's owners. You came here once, didn't you?" Amanda blinked, her voice suddenly dry. "Oh, I forgot my ID. I left it at home." Daisy said nothing. She didn't even look at Amanda. She simply gave the butler a soft nod. "Thank you." She didn't ask for special treatment. She didn't try to correct anyone. She just walked forward, politely, with quiet grace. Amanda stood still, her face pale, her mind spinning. She knew now. Something was wrong. Something she hadn't expected. The next day at the office, Amanda arrived early and angry. By the time Daisy walked in, the whispers had already started. She paid those people to say that. Someone said she's faking it. The real heiress wouldn't wear thrift shoes. Look at her, so humble, too humble. That Amanda girl makes more sense. Amanda had done her work. She stood near the printers, arms crossed, ready. "So," she said loudly, when Daisy passed, "how much did you pay the staff at Thermal Haven to pretend you're somebody you're not?" Daisy paused. "Don't play games," Amanda continued. "You're a Benson, a street girl, a mistake, not a Williams, and everyone here knows it now." Daisy opened her mouth to speak but didn't get the chance. A firm voice came from the hallway behind them. "Enough." Everyone turned. Daniel Obasi. He stepped into the room slowly, his expression unreadable. "I heard everything," he said calmly. "And for the record, what someone wears or where they come from does not define their worth." Amanda blinked. "I wasn't talking to you." Daniel ignored her. He walked up to Daisy. "Real strength doesn't need to shout. It shows itself in how people carry pain without bitterness." He turned back to Amanda. "And I've seen enough to know who here is lying. And who's working." He walked away without another word. Amanda stood frozen. No more comebacks, no fake laughter. Her throat was dry. And Daisy? She simply turned and walked back to her desk. She didn't need to explain anything. The truth was already starting to speak for her. By Monday morning, the office was buzzing again. The gossip about Daisy hadn't died. It had only grown louder. Some said she was a fraud. Some said she had connections. And some whispered that Daniel's open defense meant there was something between them. But none of them knew the truth. And somewhere else in Lagos, someone else had heard the same rumors. Kelvin. He sat in his car, staring at the Williams Group building across the street, the company name gleaming in the sun. He laughed when Amanda first called him, but the more he thought about it, the less funny it became. What if Daisy really was connected to money now? What if she really had become someone important? He couldn't let her slip away, not when there might still be something to gain. Adjusting his shirt, he stepped out of the car and walked confidently into the building, wearing his best smile. Daisy was coming out of a design meeting when she saw him. For a moment, she froze. Kelvin. He looked almost the same confident smirk, same arrogant eyes. Daisy, he said softly, spreading his arms like an old friend. You look amazing. She said nothing. He took a step closer. I've been thinking about you, about us. I made mistakes, I admit it, but maybe we can start again. She stared at him, calm and steady. You divorced me, remember? Kelvin's smile faltered. You cheated on me, she continued quietly. You hit me. You called me barren in front of your family. And now you want to start again. Does your mistress know you are here? He looked around nervously as a few employees passed. Daisy, please. People change. I was angry, but I still care about you. No, Kelvin, she said firmly. You don't care about me. I think you should leave now. His jaw tightened. You think you're better than me now? I don't think anything, Daisy said. I just don't want to go backward. Kelvin's face hardened. If you keep talking like this, Daisy, I'll make sure you regret it. You know how to fall. I'll remind you how it feels. Before she could reply, a deep voice came from behind him. Is there a problem here? Kelvin turned sharply. Daniel Obasi stood there, calm but sharp-eyed, his presence enough to silence the air. Kelvin straightened his jacket. Oh, no problem. Just talking to my ex-wife. Daniel's expression didn't change. Well, she's busy now, and she doesn't look interested in your kind of talk. Kelvin's tone turned defensive. And who are you to interrupt? Daniel took one step forward, his voice low. The man who's telling you to leave before I make a call that'll end your little business deals in this city. Kelvin's mouth twitched, but he didn't say another word. He turned sharply and walked away, anger burning in his eyes. Daisy exhaled slowly. Are you okay? Daniel asked softly. Yes, she said quietly. I am now. Their eyes met for a moment. Neither spoke again, but something in Daniel's gaze told her she wasn't alone anymore. That evening, as Daisy was packing her things to leave the office, the receptionist buzzed her line. Miss Daisy, there are 2 people here asking for you. She frowned. Who? They said they're your family. Her stomach sank. When she stepped out, there they were, Clara and Charles. Clara looked proud, as if she owned the building. Charles chewed gum and leaned lazily against the wall. Ah, Daisy, Clara said, her voice too sweet. We've been looking for you. No time to even call your family. Daisy crossed her arms. What do you want? Charles stepped forward. We need $2 million for the house, and $200,000 for upkeep. You know how things are. Daisy's chest tightened. I already told you last time. Clara cut in sharply. You think because you're now working in one big company you can forget us? We raised you, Daisy. Without us, you wouldn't be here. Daisy's eyes filled with tears, but she held her ground. You didn't raise me out of love. You raised me because you needed what I could give you. I begged you for help when I was thrown out, and you called me a disgrace. Clara rolled her eyes. That was before. Now we're family again. No, Daisy said softly. We're not. Charles smirked. If you don't want to help us, no problem. We'll just tell everyone online how ungrateful you are, that we adopted you and you abandoned us the moment you made money. Daisy froze. You wouldn't. You know that is not true. Clara smiled coldly. Try me. For a moment Daisy couldn't speak. Her eyes stung, her hands trembled. But then she took a deep breath. Do what you want. I'm done being afraid of you. She turned around and walked back toward the elevator. Her heart hurt, but her steps were steady. Behind her, Clara's angry voice echoed down the hall. Ungrateful child. We'll see who laughs last. The elevator doors closed. Daisy leaned against the wall, tears quietly rolling down her face. It hurt. Everything still hurt.
But for the first time, she felt something stronger than fear. Freedom. She thought that walking away from Clara and Charles at the office earlier that day was the end of it.
She was wrong. The sun had already set by the time she packed up her things and stepped out of Williams' group. Most of the staff had gone. The air was cooler, the city quieter. But as she reached the company gate, she saw them. Clara and Charles. They weren't smiling this time. They weren't pretending to be friendly. They were waiting. "Daisy," Clara called out, her voice sharp, eyes cold. "We didn't finish our conversation." Daisy paused, tired. "I told you already. There's nothing left to say." Charles stepped closer. "We're not asking anymore." Before she could turn to leave, Charles grabbed her arm tightly. Daisy gasped, "Let me go." He shoved her hard against the fence. Clara stood nearby, watching, silent. "You think you're better than us now?" Charles hissed. "You think you can embarrass us in public and walk away? You will learn." He slapped her, once, then twice. Daisy cried out, struggling, but he was too strong. Clara moved in and grabbed her bag. "Let's see what's inside. Maybe she's hiding money here." Daisy fought back, tears streaming, voice cracking. "Help! Somebody help me!" But the street was quiet. The security guard at the far gate hadn't noticed. She felt powerless again. Then a black car screeched to a halt just meters away. Daniel jumped out. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" he shouted, phone already recording. Charles froze. Clara panicked. "Daniel!" Daisy gasped through tears, her lip bleeding. Daniel stormed toward them. "Let her go now!" Charles backed off reluctantly, muttering curses. Clara quickly dropped Daisy's bag. Daniel handed Daisy his phone gently. "Keep filming." He turned back and faced them. "Congratulations. I just recorded you assaulting and attempting to abduct a staff member outside a registered corporate building." Clara's voice shook. We were just talking to her." Daniel raised his hand. "Don't lie. The police are on their way. You're finished." They both looked terrified now. Then Daniel took out his wallet. Slowly he pulled out a check. He signed it and handed it to Clara. $5 million. Take it. Disappear. If you or your son ever come near Daisy again, I will make sure both of you never see daylight in Lagos again." Clara's eyes widened. Charles snatched the check and shoved it into his pocket. "Let's go," he muttered. They ran. Daisy was trembling. She couldn't breathe properly. Her body ached. Her mind spun. Daniel held her gently. "You're safe now. You're with me." He helped her into the car, and they drove through the silent night. Daniel's penthouse sat above the city, calm, golden, quiet. He brought her in carefully, helped her clean her wounds, and gave her warm water to drink. He didn't ask questions. He didn't pressure her. Just made her feel human again. Later they sat at a quiet dinner table, the lights low, the air soft with music. Daisy wore one of his oversized sweatshirts and sat across from him, staring at her untouched plate. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. Daniel looked at her gently. "You don't have to say anything, but I will." She looked up. "I've admired you since the first day I saw you," he said. "You were working quietly, humbly, like the world hadn't just tried to break you. That strength, I've never seen anything like it." Daisy blinked away tears. "You've done so much for me. I don't know how I'll ever repay you for tonight, or for anything." "You don't owe me anything," he said softly. She shook her head. "I want to. I will pay you back, Daniel. All of it." He leaned forward. "The only thing I want from you is honesty, and maybe a chance." Daisy's breath caught. "A chance for what?" she asked. "A chance to know you better, to walk beside you, to protect you from everything and everyone that's ever tried to destroy you." Her voice trembled. "I'm scared. I've been used, lied to, hurt." "I know," he said, "but I'm not them. I'll never hurt you. I'll never betray you." Silence filled the room. Then Daisy whispered, "I believe you." And for the first time in a long time, she smiled, soft, tired, but real. Daniel reached across the table and gently held her hand.
They didn't need big words, the quiet was enough. The next morning, sunlight spilled gently through the windows of Daniel's penthouse. Daisy sat by the balcony in one of his soft sweaters, sipping warm tea. For the first time in a long time, she felt still. Not because her life was perfect, far from it, but because, finally, she was no longer surviving alone. Her peace was interrupted by a call. It was Mr. Attawell, the Williams' trusted butler. "Miss Daisy," he said, voice warm, almost trembling, "your parents have returned from the US, they're home, and they're ready to see you." Her breath caught. She wasn't ready, but she had waited her whole life for this. At the Williams mansion, the grand gates opened before her. This time, she didn't enter as an intern. She walked in as herself. Inside the sitting room, Mr. and Mrs. Williams stood waiting. Her mother was thinner than Daisy remembered from the video call, but her eyes were warm, wide, and already wet with tears. The moment Daisy stepped in, her mother ran to her and held her like a child she never thought she'd see again. "My baby, my daughter, I found you," she cried into her shoulder. Daisy melted into her arms. Her own tears soaked her mother's blouse. Mr. Williams joined them, placing his hand gently on her back. His voice cracked. "We searched everywhere. 20 years of empty birthdays. And now, here you are." Later that day, they visited a private medical center. DNA confirmed everything. Daisy was their biological daughter. No doubt, no question. The red mole on her hand, the facial structure, the match in records. They had found their child. 3 days later, the world found out too. The Williams family held a national press conference. Daisy, dressed in a modest sky blue gown, stood beside her parents. Flashing cameras lit up the room. Mr. Williams took the mic. "Today, we are proud to tell the world that our long-lost daughter, Daisy Williams, has returned home. 20 years ago, she was stolen from us, but God, in His mercy, has restored her." The reporters gasped. Questions flew. Pictures were taken. But nothing could prepare Amanda or the others for what came next. Amanda's lies crumbled overnight. Footage from the Lekki thermal haven, staff testimonies, and falsified resumes surfaced. Everything unraveled. She was fired publicly from Williams Group, her ID revoked, her name blacklisted in fashion circles. Those who once laughed with her now avoided her like a curse. Even the managers who once humiliated Daisy couldn't look her in the eye. Some resigned quietly. Others sent stiff apologies through email, never expecting replies. Meanwhile, across town, Kelvin's family sat in stunned silence, watching the press conference on their flat-screen TV. Kelvin's mother gasped. She's the real heiress? I cannot believe we threw out diamond for mere stone." Kelvin stormed out of the room, phone in hand, only to find that clients were pulling out of contracts, investors disappearing, and bankruptcy notices arriving. His company began crumbling faster than anyone expected. And Amanda, her friends in high places, never picked her calls again. A few days later, Daniel invited Daisy to a quiet dinner at an exclusive rooftop restaurant. The city lights shimmered below, but nothing outshined her that night. She wore a simple black dress. No diamonds, no luxury, just grace. Over grilled seafood and soft jazz, they talked, laughed, held hands. When dessert came, Daniel looked at her and said, "I always knew you were special. I want you to be you with me." She smiled. "I still feel like I'm dreaming." "Then let me make it real." He leaned forward slowly, and under the stars they shared their first kiss, slow, warm, full of emotion. Daisy didn't pull away. She had finally stopped running from love. 2 weeks later, during the company's annual dinner, Daniel stood up in front of the entire hall. He cleared his throat. "Before we end the night, I'd like to say something special." The lights dimmed slightly. A spotlight followed him as he walked to the center of the room. He turned toward the table where Daisy sat beside her parents. Then, in front of the staff, guests, reporters, and partners, he knelt down. "Daisy Williams, you've been through storms that would have broken anyone else, but you survived, you grew, you shined, and in all my life I've never met anyone stronger.
or more beautiful? He pulled out a ring. Will you marry me? The room held its breath. Daisy stood up slowly, one hand over her mouth. Her mother wept softly beside her. Her father stood with pride. She looked down at Daniel, eyes glistening, and whispered, "Yes." The hall erupted in cheers. Applause thundered. Cameras flashed, and by morning headlines across the country read, "The billionaire heiress who found true love." The news of Daisy's engagement spread like wildfire. Photos from the company dinner, Daniel kneeling, Daisy in tears, the glittering diamond ring, dominated every social media platform and front-page headline. Heiress engaged to Obasi heir. Fairy tale love story, from homeless to happily ever after. Daniel and Daisy, the billionaire power couple everyone is rooting for. The world was celebrating, but not everyone was smiling. In a small apartment in Ikeja, Amanda threw a glass at the wall. "She took everything," she screamed, pacing the room like a wild animal. Her life was falling apart. Her job was gone. Her name meant nothing now. And worse, Daisy was loved, respected, admired. She picked up her phone and dialed a number. Kelvin. His voice was dry. "I was wondering when you'd call. You saw the news?" "Everywhere," he muttered. "My own name is finished, and she's trending like a princess." Amanda clenched her fist. "We can't let this go." Kelvin was silent for a moment. Then coldly he replied, "Let's teach Daisy a lesson she'll never forget." The wedding was held at the Grand Royal Lagos, a stunning beachside venue reserved for Nigeria's most elite celebrations. Guests began arriving in limousines, red carpet, media everywhere. The theme, golden elegance. White and gold roses lined the aisle. String lights danced in the wind. Everything looked like a dream. Daisy stood in the bridal suite, dressed in a breathtaking gown, soft ivory silk with delicate embroidery. Her hair was pinned up with tiny pearls. Her eyes were shining with quiet joy. Mrs. Williams helped fasten her veil, whispering, "You look exactly like you did in my dreams, when I prayed every night you'd come home." Daisy blinked back tears. "I'm already home, Mum." Downstairs, Daniel stood by the altar in a tailored black suit, smiling as guests filled the seats. The Obasi and Williams families sat in the front row. The atmosphere was filled with joy. The music began. The doors opened. Daisy stepped onto the aisle, arm in arm with her father. Gasps of awe filled the room. Phones flashed. Everyone rose to their feet. But halfway down the aisle, chaos erupted. 3 men in black suits shoved past security and charged toward the altar. One of them pulled a sharp metal rod from inside his coat. Another lunged toward Daisy. Screams filled the hall. Guests scrambled. Glass shattered. "Get down!" one of the guards shouted. Before the attackers could reach Daisy, Daniel launched forward, blocking them with his body. One thug swung. Daniel dodged, then tackled him to the ground. Another tried to grab Daisy. She stepped back, but slipped slightly on her dress. The third man raised his weapon crack. Daniel took the hit, shielding Daisy completely. Blood appeared on the side of his head. He groaned, staggering, but didn't fall. Security rushed in. The hall roared with panic. Seconds later, sirens wailed outside. Police stormed the venue. 2 attackers were pinned to the floor. The third tried to run but was caught at the gate. And Amanda? She was already in a getaway car outside. But as she opened the door, "Freeze!" shouted the police officer behind her. She turned slowly, shaking. "Wait, this is a misunderstanding. Save it. We know everything. Your voice note leaked. You planned it." Amanda's face collapsed. She screamed and kicked as they dragged her away. Inside the hall, Daniel sat on the floor, his shirt torn, blood on his temple. Daisy knelt beside him, sobbing softly, holding his face. "You're hurt," she whispered. He smiled weakly. "You're safe. That's all I care about. You could have died. I'd take 1,000 hits for you, Daisy." Daniel spent 2 days in the hospital. The wound wasn't deep, but it needed stitches, rest, and silence. Daisy barely left his side. She brought him meals herself, sat beside him while he slept, and read him poetry from her tablet just to make him smile. When he was strong enough to sit up, he looked at her and whispered, "You're still the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." Daisy smiled.
brushing his hair back. And you're still the most stubborn. They both laughed softly, tears shining in their eyes. A few weeks later, once the legal dust had settled and the cameras faded, Daisy and Daniel held a small, intimate wedding. No press, no crowd. Just close family, a garden full of orchids, and the sound of ocean waves nearby. He wore a white shirt and a simple suit. She wore a soft satin dress and no veil. No need to hide anymore. "You may kiss your bride," the officiant said. And when Daniel kissed her, she knew she had finally arrived where she was meant to be. Meanwhile, justice came swiftly for those who had tried to destroy her. Daniel, backed by top legal teams, sued Kelvin for defamation, fraud, and unpaid business debts. The courts ruled in Daniel's favor. Kelvin's company collapsed completely. Banks reclaimed his properties. Sponsors cut ties. One by one, doors closed. Charles was sentenced to 18 months in prison for assault and attempted abduction. Amanda, once the office queen, lost everything. The media dragged her reputation through the mud. People mocked her for playing fake heiress. She couldn't walk into a room without whispers. Brands rejected her. No one returned her calls. Her face, once everywhere, was now a warning sign. The world forgot her. Back at Williams Group Fashion, Daisy took over as general manager. She restructured the company with elegance and vision. Staff who once doubted her now looked up to her. Designers begged to work under her. Clients praised her leadership. She didn't lead with pride, but with purpose. And her parents? They adored her. Every evening her mother would call just to hear about her day. Mr. Williams referred to her as my pride in heels. Daisy had finally become what she was born to be, not just a daughter, but a legacy. Then one morning, while sipping tea at the kitchen counter, Daisy felt a sudden flutter in her stomach. Not nerves. Something else. She grabbed the test kit she'd been avoiding for days. When the result appeared, she gasped, positive. Tears filled her eyes as she rushed into Daniel's arms. "I'm pregnant." He froze, then pulled her into the tightest hug she'd ever felt. "You mean, we're having a baby?" She nodded. He dropped to his knees, kissing her stomach. "You've given me everything." 9 months later, the Williams estate was filled with soft lullabies, baby cries, and the scent of lavender oil. Daisy gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl. Perfect, healthy, beautiful. She named them Hope and Eli. Her mother wept the first time she held them. Her father couldn't stop taking pictures. Daniel didn't let go of their tiny hands for hours. Months later, Daisy stood at the head of a boardroom table. In one arm, she held baby Hope. On the opposite side, Daniel cradled Eli. The entire boardroom smiled as they entered. "Let's begin," Daisy said, commanding the room with grace. Her parents stood quietly at the back, watching, pride overflowing. "She was stolen from us," Mr. Williams whispered, eyes glistening. "But she came back stronger than we could have ever imagined." And far away in a small, cramped flat, Kelvin's mother watched a documentary about Williams Group's rise. She saw Daisy on screen, glowing, speaking confidently, holding her daughter. She broke down in tears. "All this time," she whispered, "it was never her. It was my son who was the mistake." She finally saw the truth, but it was too late. That night, back home, Daisy sat on the balcony with Daniel, their twins sleeping peacefully in the nursery. The moonlight cast soft shadows over their quiet, perfect world. Daniel pulled her close. "You were once broken," he whispered, "but now, you build empires." Daisy turned to him, eyes full of gratitude and love. She smiled through soft tears, placed her head on his chest, and whispered, "Finally, I'm home with you, my love."